Hey, what's up guys, Minute Book Reports, and I want to do the September wrap-up video, and I just came out today to the lake, decided I wanted to go walk around and potentially go fishing. I don't know if you can see in the distance, there's some kids and stuff, they're fishing, and so I just wanted to do a quick video while I was out here and talk about the books that I made book reports for the month of September. And so hopefully the video comes out okay in terms of the sound. I know it's kind of windy, but there's a little bird right there. There were plenty of birds down there, and I was going to film down there, but the birds are getting kind of close, and they're getting kind of loud, so it's kind of nice. This one was a little bit quieter, and you know, it's a pretty nice day. It's a little overcast, but overall it's pretty nice. So I did 5 books for the month of September, and the first book was Shiloh, and you know, Shiloh was kind of an interesting book because I read because of Winn-Dixie just probably like a week or two apart from it, and the two books are very, very similar, and so I want to make sure that I separated the books out because the storyline is kind of the same, except I shouldn't say they're kind of the same, but it's your pretty typical animal book with a dog or a pet and a boy, but I guess the other one was a girl. But Shiloh, you know, it was okay, except I really don't feel like by the end of the story, the bad guy changed. And maybe that's not the point, but I felt like he stayed the same, and that's sort of why I think it has kind of a weaker ending. You know, he basically, he gave the boy the dog because I think the boy worked for it. I don't think the man had actually changed. And so to me, that's sort of why the ending is a little flat. So for the boy, he gets Shiloh because he earned it, which is a really great story. But at the same time, I don't feel like for all the characters there was a change. And when characters don't change throughout the whole story, I feel like the story kind of falls flat. But again, it's a classic for a reason, and I'm glad that I read it because, you know, I've been putting it off for a long time. So the next book that I read was Animal Farm, and I picked Animal Farm because Animal Farm is my all-time favorite book, and it's actually the 50th book report that I posted on this channel. And it's my favorite book because it has a really good message, or it shares an interesting story, or it packages adult material in a story that's very accessible with talking animals and a farm and things like that. So that's the reason why I like it. It was one of the first books that I read that I thought changed my life. And I know a lot of people say that, oh, read this book, A Brave New World, Animal Farm, Catcher in the Rye, it changes your life. And for me, the first book that I read that changed my life in that sort of weird, superficial and sort of shallow way, but hey, you know, it's when you're learning to read, and I shouldn't say learning to read. When you're starting to read books more and more, and you want books that actually have a challenge or a deeper meaning, you know, it's a pretty good book, and I'm glad that I read it. But I highly recommend Animal Farm. Again, it's one of my favorite books, and I'm glad that I saved it for the 50th book report that I made on this channel. The next book that I covered was The Book Thief, and I usually don't read books like The Book Thief, but I read it because I know the movie is coming out, and I wanted to make sure that I read the book before I watched the movie. I read Harry Potter, but I read Harry Potter after I watched all the movies, and so it didn't really have the same power, and I was visualizing the characters very differently because I had watched the movies, and so when I read the books, I just pictured the actors and actresses that played the different parts. I really didn't imagine them in any special way. So to me, with this book, I wanted to make sure that I read it before, and now I have a picture of what the girl looks like, what the parents look like, and all the different, all the other characters. So I really liked it. I like the perspective of the story. I like the narrator. It's very unusual. At least I assumed it was a kid's book, but maybe it's not a kid's book. I don't really know. Maybe young adult. But I just picked it up. It was quite long. It's a long book for me, but I'm glad that I read it. And again, I really like the storytelling. I really like the narrator being deaf, and I like, just the pace of the story. And again, the character grows and changes a lot, which is really nice. I like that. The next book that I read was Number of the Stars, and This is a book that I read in elementary school. And I wanted to reread it because I actually didn't remember how the story went. I just remember that the book was about World War II and about a girl. And so, of course, I'm just sort of thinking Anne Frank the whole time. But it's actually very different. Originally, I thought that the girl had died. The main character actually died in the story, but she really couldn't have died because she wasn't Jewish. And so, I mean, I guess she could have died, but for helping her neighbors. But her herself, if she just minded her own business, she wouldn't have been in danger. But yeah, it was nice to reread it as an adult, because I never really, it's not really my genre, which is also why The Book Thief kind of turned me off a little bit originally, because it's not really my genre. I don't really read a lot of World War II stories. They're great, but I don't really read a lot of World War II Germany stories, I should say. So, I really liked it, and I really liked it as a student, although I didn't remember what it was about. But I'm glad it was a good reread, and I definitely recommend it. I know a lot of people are assigned to read that book. It's very short. It's a very quick read, but I think if you take the time to read it and you try to understand the girl, and the big problem is this sort of secrecy to save them. Is it right to save them? Do you risk what you have to save your friends and your neighbors? And I like that message, and I think they did a really great job. The last book that I read, which is sort of ironic that I'm here now, is Are the Swans. And I read that book because I saw it on the shelf, and it was a Newbery Award, and I never heard of it, and it was also very short. So I picked it up, and I was very glad that I did, in the sense that I got it out of the way. Because I have to say, it was one of the most boring books I've ever read. And I think that it's boring because it was written at a different time. It was written at a time when TV was nice and friendly, and always good morals at the end of the episode, or movies, always good morals at the end of the movies. I felt like this book was so boring, and it doesn't hold a lot of power nowadays, and so it's a very timely book, I guess. The messages that it's trying to portray, I feel like aren't applicable today, and I know not every book does that, and this is definitely one that didn't. Problems I had: main character, pretty boring. Their dilemma was also kind of boring. Maybe it was exciting at the time, but the brother going off and them finding the brother, I never felt like the brother was really at risk. I never felt like he was in any danger. And maybe the main character, the girl, maybe she did like a little changing. Maybe she opened up a little. But I really didn't feel like, I didn't feel like she changed enough to make the story. And all that was in between the opening cover and the end, I didn't feel like that was worth it. So that was just me, but I would not recommend it to people, even though I read it for, to do a video. But that's it. Thanks for watching the video. It's a pretty nice day. I'm going to go finish up my walk, and those guys are fishing out there. I think I might come back and actually fish next week. So I don't know. We'll see. But thanks for watching this video. I got to get back and do what it is that I do, finish up more videos. But thanks for watching, and let me know if you like these videos, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.